Ambassador Jack Harrison stared out the viewport at the glittering spires of Galactic Council headquarters. The massive structure floated in space, anchored to a small moon that orbited the neutral planet Zenith. After 3 years as Earth's voice in this chamber, Harrison was tired. Not the kind of tired that sleep could fix, the kind that sank into bones. "Are you ready, sir?" Lieutenant Susan Miller asked, offering him a data pad. "The council session begins in 10 minutes. Harrison nodded, straightening his dark blue uniform. The silver Earth emblem on his chest caught the light. "Any last-minute changes I should know about?" "No, sir. The agenda remains the same. Earth's petition for full membership is item 14. After the Proxima trade routes and Zintari mineral rights." Harrison's jaw tightened. "Item 14. Again. Always pushed down the list, always delayed. 3 years of the same treatment." "Let's go," he said. They walked through the curved hallway, where representatives from 200 worlds moved about. The older species barely glanced at the humans. Some newer races nodded respectfully, but kept their distance. Harrison had learned why early in his posting. Being seen as too friendly with humans could cause problems with the 5 ruling species. The council chamber was a perfect circle with rings of seats facing the center. The 5 ancient species, Zintari, Volux, Nathal, Meridians, and Kalari, occupied the innermost ring. Their seats were larger, elevated. Everyone else sat in the outer rings based on their membership status. Earth's delegation sat in the outermost ring, despite humans now having colonies on 12 worlds and helping develop faster engines for half the galaxy. Council Speaker Zintar, a tall Zintari with iridescent scales and 4 arms, called the session to order. Harrison listened as the council moved through items, approving or rejecting proposals with practiced efficiency. His attention sharpened when they discussed expansion rights for the Trogar, a species that had achieved faster-than-light travel only 30 years ago, decades after humans. The council quickly approved their request to settle 3 new star systems. Harrison checked his datapad, opening a secure file Lieutenant Miller had compiled. The pattern was clear. Every emerging species that followed council rules without question received expansion rights. Earth's requests were always under review. When item 14 finally came up, Zintar spoke with practiced regret. "Regarding Earth's petition for full council membership and expanded colonization rights, the senior committee requests additional time for consideration. The matter will be addressed at our next session." Harrison stood up. This wasn't the protocol, but he didn't care anymore. "Speaker Zintar, with respect, this is the 7th time Earth's petition has been delayed. May I ask what specific concerns prevent a decision?" The chamber went quiet. No one interrupted council proceedings. Zintar's upper arms folded across his chest. "Ambassador Harrison, proper procedure must be followed. Earth is quite young in galactic terms. Patience is a virtue all council members must display. Yet the Trogar who achieved space travel after us were just granted rights we've been denied for years." The Volux representative, a gelatinous being named Murok, spoke next. "The Trogar understand their place in the galactic order. They don't rush to change things that have worked for millennia." That was when Harrison saw it, the truth behind 3 years of delays. They were afraid of how quickly humans adapted, invented, solved problems. They were deliberately holding Earth back. "I see," Harrison said quietly. "Then I believe we've been wasting each other's time." He turned to Lieutenant Miller. "Transfer all our files to secure storage. Delete everything else." Zintar's scales darkened with alarm. "Ambassador, what are you doing?" "What we should have done years ago," Harrison said. Fey President Allison Carter stood at the window of the Oval Office, hands clasped behind her back. The Washington Monument gleamed in the distance under the afternoon sun. On her desk, the message from Ambassador Harrison blinked on a secure tablet. "How long until they arrive?" she asked. 20 minutes, Madam President," replied her chief of staff. "The Joint Chiefs are already in the Situation Room with the Extraterrestrial Affairs Committee." Carter nodded and turned from the window. 3 years of trying to work with the Galactic Council. 3 years of playing by their rules. And for what? To be treated like children begging for a seat at the grown-ups' table. The Situation Room was filled when she arrived. Military leaders in crisp uniforms sat alongside civilian experts. Admiral George Williams, head of Earth Fleet Command, stood as she entered. "Madam President," he said, "Ambassador Harrison's ship has left Council space and is heading home. The Council has sent 7 urgent messages requesting he return." Carter took her seat. "Play the full recording from the Council session." The wall screen flickered to life, showing Harrison's confrontation and walkout. When it ended, the room was silent. "Thoughts?" Carter asked. Admiral Williams spoke first. "This confirms our intelligence, Madam President. The Council fears us, not because we're a threat, but because we develop too quickly for their comfort." Dr. Alan Parker, the leading xenoanthropologist on Earth, nodded in agreement. Most Council species took thousands of years to reach the stars. The Zintari needed nearly 10,000 years to discover faster-than-light travel. We did it in less than 300 years after our Industrial Revolution. Our rate of advancement terrifies them. "And it's not just our technology," added Lieutenant Commander Diane Foster, head of Alien Cultural Relations. "It's how we share it. When we solved the gravity distortion problem for the Volok's last year, we simply gave them the solution. In their culture, knowledge is hoarded, not shared." Carter looked around the table. "Options. We could apologize, send Harrison back," suggested one diplomat. "Try again with more patience." "And wait another decade while they find new excuses?" Williams asked. "Meanwhile, they'll continue restricting our expansion while allowing others to box us in." "We could threaten to withdraw our technologies," another offered. Dr. Parker shook his head. "They already limit how much of our tech they use. They're afraid of becoming dependent on us." Carter stood up and walked slowly around the table. "When I was a little girl, my father taught me that sometimes the best way to win an argument is to walk away. Let the other side realize what they've lost." She stopped behind her chair. "We've tried compromise. We've tried patience. Perhaps it's time. We tried absence." The room went quiet as everyone understood what she was suggesting. "Complete withdrawal?" Admiral Williams asked. "From all Council affairs?" Carter nodded. "Complete withdrawal of all human presence from Council space. All businesses, research teams, military personnel, civilians, everyone comes home. And we take our innovations with us." Dr. Parker leaned forward. "Madam President, the economic impact on certain Council worlds would be severe. Some of their systems rely heavily on human-designed components." "I'm counting on that," Carter said simply. "Lieutenant, Commander Foster was already making notes on her tablet. We'd need to draft an official notice with clear timelines and arrange safe passage for all humans in Council territory. 30 days, Carter decided. All humans out of Council space in 30 days. After that, we close our borders to Council ships and cease all technology sharing." Admiral Williams nodded. "I'll have the 5th Fleet position along the main extraction corridors. No aggressive stances, but visible enough to ensure our people get home safely." Carter looked at each face. Around the table. "I want to be clear, this isn't about punishment, it's about respect. If they want to treat us as partners, they need to understand what they're losing by treating us as subordinates." She placed both hands on the table, leaning forward. "Draft the withdrawal notice, and let's bring our people home." Sing the entire Council. Earth withdraws from these proceedings. We will no longer seek membership in a Council that fears progress. The human delegation stood as one and began walking toward the exit. The chamber erupted in shocked whispers. Only Kella of the Meridians called after them, genuine concern in her four-eyed gaze. "Ambassador Harrison, please reconsider." But Harrison didn't look back as the doors shut behind them. The peace talks had collapsed, and the galaxy would never be the same. The news spread across Council space like wildfire. Earth was pulling out. All humans were going home. The official notice gave a strict 30-day deadline. Ryan Grant, CEO of Stellar Horizon Corporation, called an emergency meeting at their headquarters on Volok's Prime. The company had 5 major shipyards across Council space, all using human-designed graviton stabilizers that had revolutionized shipbuilding. "We're shutting down," Grant told his shocked executives. "Every facility. Tonight." "Tonight?" His Volox partner Grelix sputtered. "That's impossible. We have contracts, obligations." Grant slid a tablet across the table. "Read paragraph 4 of the Earth withdrawal notice. All contracts with Council entities are void. Effective immediately." 12 hours later, the massive Volox shipyard stood silent. The graviton stabilizers, devices that had taken shipbuilding from months to days, were packed onto human cargo ships. Workers cleared out offices and labs with practiced efficiency. By morning, the only things left were empty buildings and shocked Volox managers. On Meridian Prime, the situation was more personal. Kevin and Nicole Johnson owned Earth Flavors, the most popular restaurant in the capital city. When they announced they were closing, a line formed around the block. "Please," a Meridian customer begged Nicole. "One last meal. We've never tasted anything like your cooking." Word spread, and soon thousands gathered. The Johnsons used their entire food stock to cook one final feast. Aliens from 20 different species waited hours for a taste of human cuisine. The Johnsons served until their shelves were bare, then locked the door for the last time. At the Galactic Medical Institute, Dr. Lisa Martinez worked through the night, downloading her team's research on cellular regeneration. The breakthrough could help countless species heal faster, but it was still unfinished. "You're really leaving?" asked her Kalari colleague, Dr. Venn. "But we're so close to a breakthrough." Martinez looked up from her packing. "I don't want to leave, Venn, but Earth has spoken." She handed him a small data chip. "This has my personal notes. Not the full research, but enough that you won't start from zero." As she walked out, she left a note on the main lab screen. "You wanted us gone. Cure yourselves." The economic impact was immediate. Stock markets across 4 major council worlds plunged. The Zentari Central Bank called an emergency meeting as panicked investors pulled their money from ventures that relied on human tech. In space, Captain Frank Russell of the Earth cruiser Defiant watched as a convoy of human transport ships entered the protection corridor. "How many more expected today?" he asked his first officer. 17 ships from Volux Prime, 9 from the Kalari, homeworld, and the last research team from Nathal Station, she replied. "Plus about 30 private vessels." Russell nodded, looking at the tactical display. 2 Council military ships watched from a distance, but made no move to interfere. The withdrawal was working exactly as planned. On Earth, President Carter received hourly updates on the evacuation progress. She had rejected 11 requests for meetings from Council representatives. "They've sent their Grand Arbiter to Earth," her aide informed her. "He's waiting at the Lunar Diplomatic Station. Says he won't leave until you meet with him." Carter shook her head. "Let him wait. Our terms have 1 week into the human exodus. Panic spread across Council space. What started as small problems grew into major crises. Systems that had run smoothly for years suddenly showed error messages. Machines stopped working. Food production lines shut down. On the Zentari homeworld, the central bank faced disaster. Their quantum encryption system flashed warnings before locking completely. No one could access the main financial network. "What do you mean it's programmed to expire?" roared Bank Director Zin Kaur at his technical team. "Who builds systems with time limits?" "Humans do," the lead technician said quietly. "All their systems have service dates. They told us this when we bought the encryption. It needs regular updates that only they can provide." Similar scenes played out across a dozen worlds. Council military vessels reported navigation failures. 3 major shipping lanes closed when automated guidance systems failed. Food shortages hit colonies that depended on human agricultural methods. At Earth Fleet Command, Admiral Sam Westfield reviewed the flood of incoming messages. Over 200 urgent requests for technical help had arrived in the last day alone. "They want us to send repair teams," his communications officer said. "The Volox are offering triple the normal payment." Westfield shook his head. "President, Carter's orders are clear. No assistance until the Council accepts our terms." He looked at a report on his desk. Almost 60% of humans in Council space had already returned home. The evacuation was ahead of schedule. In deep space, the Council's largest warship drifted powerless. The ship's commander, Admiral Vrak of the Nathul, stared at the dead control panels. "Try again," he ordered his engineers. "Sir, we've tried every restart procedure. The core system needs a human engineer. They designed it with safeguards we can't bypass." Vrak smashed his fist on the console. His ship, the pride of the Nathul fleet, was now nothing more than floating metal. On the planet Zenith, the 5 leaders of the Council's dominant species met in emergency session. The usual formal procedures were abandoned as they argued loudly. "We must bring the humans back immediately," insisted the Meridian representative. "Offer them whatever they want." "And show weakness?" hissed the Zentari leader. "Never, we are the Galactic Council. We have ruled for millennia. We do not bend to the demands of newcomers." The Kalari representative, oldest of them all, laughed bitterly. "Your pride will be the end of us. We warned you not to provoke them. Humans aren't like the other species we've controlled. They react differently. They value independence above all else." On Earth, Intelligence Officer Daniel Wilson monitored alien communications. The volume of messages between previously hostile species had tripled overnight. "They're working together," he told his superior. "Species that haven't cooperated in centuries are suddenly sharing resources. They're terrified of what we might do next." "Are they preparing for war?" asked the director. Wilson shook his head. "That's the interesting part. They're not. They're preparing for collapse. Their systems are failing faster than they can fix them." He pulled up a star map showing human and Council territories. "And look at this. 3 minor species that were neutral have requested trade agreements with Earth. They're jumping ship." At the White House, President Carter met with her advisors. The exodus was working better than they had hoped. Council worlds were already feeling the pain of human absence. "The Council has sent another message," her Secretary of State reported. "They're offering immediate full membership and expanded colonization rights." Carter's expression didn't change. "Not enough." "Ma'am?" "They think they can go back to the way things were. They still don't understand. We're not looking for concessions. We're looking for a complete restructuring of how the Council works." She handed back the message pad. "Tell them we'll discuss terms only after all our people are home. And only on neutral territory." The secretary nodded. "And if they refuse?" Carter looked out the window at the setting sun. "Then they'll learn what it means to face the future without us." Ain't changed. Meanwhile, on Council worlds, the first serious problems appeared. A Zentari hospital lost power when human-designed backup generators failed. No one knew how to fix them. 3 Volox cargo ships were stranded in deep space when their navigation systems, built with human components, displayed error messages no one could decipher. The Council rushed to form emergency response teams, but it was becoming clear just how deeply human innovation had penetrated their society in just a few short years. And the exodus had only just begun. 2 weeks after the exodus began, the Galactic Council formally requested renewed peace talks. Their message, sent on an open channel for all species to hear, offered Earth immediate full membership with all rights and privileges. Ambassador Jack Harrison read the message in President Carter's office. His face showed no emotion. "They're desperate," he said, "but still trying to save face." Carter nodded. "What do you recommend?" "We accept talks, but not on their terms. We won't go back to Council space. Suggest the neutral territory in the Epsilon sector instead." Carter agreed. Earth's response was brief and clear. They would meet, but only after most humans had safely returned home, and only on neutral ground. The Council's reply came within hours. They would send their highest diplomat, Grand Arbiter Voxna, to Earth itself. This was unprecedented. No Grand Arbiter had ever visited a non-Council world in over 500 years. "They're really scared," Harrison said when he heard the news. "Sending Voxna to Earth is like the Pope visiting a new church." President Carter assigned veteran diplomat Catherine Ward to meet with Voxna when he arrived. "Don't make any promises," she instructed. "Listen to what they offer. but commit to nothing until our people are safe. On the edges of Earth space, Lieutenant Laura Hughes supervised security at Transit Station Beta. Thousands of returning humans passed through daily. While checking the station's sensors, she noticed unusual readings from a cargo ship. "Scan that." "Vessel again," she ordered. The results confirmed her suspicion. Non-human life signs were hiding in the cargo hold. Security teams surrounded the ship. Inside, they found 3 Volox agents with advanced scanning equipment. They were trying to steal human technology before the exodus completed. "What should we do with them?" a security officer asked Hughes. "Treat them with respect," she replied, remembering her orders. "Put them in guest quarters, not cells. We're not barbarians." News of the captured spies reached the council quickly. Many expected harsh punishment or even threats of war. Instead, Earth announced the spies would be returned unharmed after the evacuation was complete. This show of restraint surprised many, aliens who had believed human propaganda about aggressive, violent humans. On the Meridian homeworld, the ruling council held its own emergency meeting. Unlike other species, the Meridians had welcomed human innovation and formed many friendships with Earth visitors. "We cannot continue to follow the Zintari and Volox position," said Meridian Elder Silpha. "The humans have shown they are not a threat. They simply want equal treatment." 3 other species, the Trell, Bosa, and Vandy, joined the Meridians in calling for a complete acceptance of human demands. The unified council front was cracking. In orbit above Earth, Admiral Williams watched the Exodus ships returning home. The flow of vessels had become a steady stream. His fleet maintained a protective screen around Earth space, but he had given strict orders. No aggressive postures, no weapons powered unless directly threatened. 75% complete, his executive officer reported. "Most of our commercial interests have successfully relocated. Research teams are the last major group still out there." Williams nodded with satisfaction. The operation was going smoothly. Too smoothly. It made him uneasy. "Keep alert," he told his captains during their daily briefing. "The council races are desperate. Desperate people make mistakes." In the Orion Arm, a small research vessel carried Dr. Lily Peterson and her team from their former lab on a Zintari science station. They had been studying deep space phenomena, work that had nothing to do with council politics. Still, orders were orders. All humans were coming home. As they passed through a quiet sector, 3 unmarked ships appeared on their sensors. "They're moving to intercept," the pilot said nervously. Dr. Peterson frowned. "Send the emergency signal. Tell Earth Fleet exactly where we are." The unmarked ships closed in. They weren't official. Earth Intelligence Officer Paul Bennett sat in a dark room, surrounded by screens. For days he had been reviewing data from Council communications intercepted during the Exodus. Something didn't add up about the Council's behavior. "Run the pattern analysis again," he told his computer. "Focus on Volox and Nathal military transmissions from the past year." The computer hummed, sorting through thousands of messages. Bennett rubbed his tired eyes. Most people saw the current crisis as a diplomatic problem, but his job was to look deeper. The screen flashed with results. Bennett leaned forward, eyes widening as he read. 3 hours later, he stood in President Carter's office showing her what he'd found. "They were planning to contain us by force," he explained, pointing to decoded transmissions between Volox and Nathal military commanders. "These orders from 6 months ago show they were positioning fleets to block our expansion. They called it Operation Barrier." Carter studied the evidence. "So when Ambassador Harrison walked out, it forced them to delay their plans," Bennett finished. "Our withdrawal caught them completely unprepared." In another part of Earth's government complex, Dr. Eric Johnson worked with ancient council archives that a friendly Meridian had secretly provided. As an expert in alien languages, Johnson had been tasked with finding historical context for the current situation. After days of careful translation, Johnson made a disturbing discovery. The archives showed a clear pattern. Throughout their history, The Council had systematically held back or even sabotaged rising species that developed too quickly. "Look at this," he told Ambassador Harrison, showing him the translated records. The Krell were a species that advanced from primitive technology to space travel in just 500 years. The Council introduced a computer virus that set them back 2 centuries. Harrison scrolled through the records. "And the Tanari? I've never even heard of them." "Exactly," Johnson said grimly. "They refused Council restrictions. Their entire civilization mysteriously collapsed after a series of natural disasters that the archives suggest were engineered. The evidence painted a clear picture. Humanity's rapid rise terrified the Council because they'd seen it before and had always managed to stop it. Until now. While Earth gathered this intelligence, an unexpected visitor arrived. A Kalari ship requested emergency landing permission, carrying a single passenger who claimed to have critical information. The passenger was Teval, a mid-level Kalari official seeking asylum. Captain Heather Sanders of Earth Intelligence was assigned to debrief him. "I can no longer support what my government planned to do," Teval told her, his large eyes blinking rapidly, a sign of extreme stress in Kalari. "You must know about the Earthfall Protocol." Sanders kept her face neutral, though her heart raced. "Tell me about this protocol." Teval produced a small data crystal. It was developed jointly by the Volaks, Zintari, and Nathul military commands. A 3-stage plan to limit human expansion, then gradually reduce human technological capability, and finally, if needed, contain humans to your home solar system. The data crystal contained the complete plan, including contingencies for dealing with human resistance. The final option involved targeted asteroid strikes on Earth colonies, attacks that would appear to be natural events. "Why are you telling us this?" Sanders asked. Teval's skin darkened with emotion. "Because I've studied your species. You don't deserve this. And because many of us believe the old ways must change." On Earth, debate grew about what to do once the exodus was complete. Some humans wanted complete isolation from galactic politics. Others believed Earth should force Council reforms. "We could go our own way," suggested one senator during a heated session. "Build our own alliance with friendly species. And let the Council continue its practices," another countered. "How long before they try to stop us again?" Admiral Williams took no part in these political debates. His job was ensuring Earth's safety. He positioned defensive systems around Earth's colonies and maintained constant vigilance. "No aggressive moves," he reminded his captains daily. "But be ready for anything." As the final week of the Exodus began, both humans and aliens sensed they were approaching a turning point in galactic history. The old order was crumbling. What would replace it remained to be seen. Council vessels. But Peterson knew what they were: privateers likely hired by someone who didn't want humans leaving with their knowledge and technology. Just as the lead ship prepared to lock on, a flash of light filled the view screen. The Earth cruiser Vigilant appeared, weapons ready. "This is Captain Ellen Gray of Earth Fleet," came the transmission. "The vessels you are pursuing are under our protection. Withdraw immediately." The unmarked ships hesitated, then turned away. On Earth, news of these encounters strengthened resolve. The Council's promise of peace was being tested. The last transport ship carrying human citizens crossed into Earth space exactly 30 days after the Exodus began. Admiral Williams watched from the bridge of his flagship as the vessel safely docked at the orbital station. "That's it," his executive officer said. 100% evacuation complete. Every registered human is out of Council territory." Williams nodded. "Send word to the President." Throughout Council space, the situation had grown dire. Economies were in free fall. Food shortages affected dozens of worlds. Transportation networks barely functioned. The 5 dominant species that had ruled for centuries found their power slipping away. On Earth, President Carter gathered her team to discuss next steps. "Now we present our terms," she said. "Ambassador Harrison, are you ready to lead the negotiation team?" Harrison nodded. "The team is prepared. We've selected neutral territory in the Epsilon sector. The Council has agreed to meet us there in 3 days." Remember our core demands, Carter said. This isn't just about Earth getting better treatment. This is about reforming the entire system. As Harrison's team prepared to depart, cultural specialist Michelle Clark joined them. Her expertise in alien psychology would be crucial. The council species won't easily accept change, she warned during their final briefing. Their entire identity is based on the current power structure. Then we make them see that the old structure is already dead, Harrison replied. They just don't know it yet. 3 days later, the human delegation arrived at an abandoned space station in the Epsilon sector. The council representatives were already waiting, not just the 5 dominant species, but representatives from all member worlds. The crisis had forced them to include everyone. Harrison stepped forward to open the meeting. The room fell silent. 3 years, Earth sought fair treatment within your existing system, he began. That time has passed. We are not here to rejoin the council as it exists now. Murmurs spread through the alien delegates. What exactly are you proposing? Asked Zintar, the Zintari leader. Harrison gestured, and a holographic display appeared. In the center of the room, a complete reformation. The Galactic Council will be dissolved. In its place, we propose the Galactic Cooperative. The display showed a new structure, one without the tiered system that had given 5 species control over all others. Instead, it showed equal representation based on population and contribution. This is outrageous, the Volok's representative sputtered. You cannot destroy thousands of years of tradition. Your traditions are already crumbling, Harrison said calmly. Half your worlds can't feed themselves without our agricultural methods. Your banks are failing, your ships can't navigate safely. Michelle Clark stepped forward. We've prepared a detailed transition plan. Earth is willing to return and share our advancements, but only under this new framework. She introduced economist Brandon Taylor, who outlined a mutual development accord that would prevent any species from suppressing another's technological growth. The fundamental principle is simple, Taylor explained. No species has the right to hold back another's progress. Knowledge sharing will be open, not restricted. The council chamber erupted in argument. The Zintari and Voloks rejected the proposal immediately, but the Meridians voiced support, along with 17 minor species, who had long suffered under the old system. We accept Earth's terms, announced the Meridian representative. The old council no longer serves most of us. Harrison watched as the room divided into factions. This was exactly what they had anticipated, the breaking of the old order. The Nathal representative, General Krav, stood suddenly. And if we refuse these terms, will Earth wage war against us? Harrison shook his head. No, we will simply continue to exist without you. We'll form agreements with willing species. The question, 3 months after Ambassador Harrison's historic walkout, representatives from over 200 worlds gathered in the newly constructed assembly hall on neutral territory. The old Galactic Council chamber sat empty, a relic of the past. In its place stood the Galactic Cooperative, built on principles of equality and mutual advancement. Harrison took his seat at the circular table. Beside him sat Kella of the Meridians, who had shown concern for humans even in the darkest days. There were no raised platforms, no special seats for the formerly dominant species. Every representative sat at the same level. I call this inaugural session of the Galactic Cooperative to order, Harrison announced. A hush fell over the assembly. The path to this moment had been difficult. For weeks after the human proposal, the galaxy had teetered on the edge of conflict. The Zintari and Voloks had threatened military action. The Nathal had tried to form a competing alliance. But as their economies continued to crumble and their technologies failed, reality forced them to reconsider. One by one, worlds had signed the new charter, until even the proudest holdouts had no choice but to join or face isolation. Our first act, Harrison continued, is to ratify the Mutual Development Accord, ensuring that no species can restrict the advancement of another. The vote was nearly unanimous. Only the Zintari abstained, their representative sitting stiffly in protest. As a gesture of goodwill, Earth revealed its breakthrough in faster-than-light communication technology, a system that would allow instant contact across the galaxy. Under the old council, such technology would have been restricted to the dominant species. Now it would be available to all. The future will be built on cooperation, not control, Harrison told the assembly. Earth is ready to share what we know, and eager to learn from all of you. Outside the chamber, Captain Stephen Gonzalez prepared to lead the first joint peacekeeping mission. His crew included officers from 12 species, including former rivals. Their mission was to help worlds struggling with the transition to the new order. Strange, isn't it? His Meridian second officer remarked as they boarded their ship. 3 months ago, my people and yours barely trusted each other. Now we serve together. Gonzalez nodded. That's how progress happens. Sometimes it takes a crisis to show us a better way. On worlds across the galaxy, the change was becoming visible. Markets reopened with new trade agreements. Human engineers worked alongside alien counterparts to restore failing systems. Research teams from different species shared knowledge freely, leading to breakthroughs that benefited all. The former council leaders struggled to adapt. The Zentari ambassador still refused to speak directly to humans. The Volox delegation constantly complained about the loss of their special status, but their influence waned as other species embraced the new reality. On Earth, President Carter hosted a small gathering in the Rose Garden to mark the official signing of the Cooperative Charter. The document, written on actual paper as a symbol of permanence, bore the signatures of 217 worlds. We took a great risk, she told Ambassador Harrison as they watched the sunset. There were moments I wasn't sure we'd succeed. Harrison nodded. The old council never understood humanity's greatest strength. They thought it was our technology, or our adaptability. But it's really our vision, our ability to imagine a different future and work toward it. Above them, the evening sky filled with stars, each representing worlds that were no longer adversaries, but partners. Ships that once would have been stopped at border checkpoints now moved freely through cooperative space, carrying goods, knowledge, and people. What happens next? Carter asked, looking up at the stars. We build, Harrison said simply. We learn from each other. We grow together. As night fell, news arrived that 3 previously unknown species from the Galactic Rim had requested membership in the cooperative. They had watched the transformation of galactic politics and decided it was finally safe to make contact. The age of the council was over. A new era of cooperation had begun, sparked by one human ambassador who had simply walked away from an unjust table, and a galaxy that had panicked at the thought of facing the future without humanity by its side. Is not whether Earth will survive without the Council, but whether the Council can survive without Earth. As the session ended for the day, Harrison sent a message to President Carter. The seed is planted. The galactic balance is shifting. Outside the meeting chamber, representatives from smaller species approached the human delegation. We've been waiting for this chance for centuries, said a Trell diplomat quietly. Tell us how we can help.